So this video is going to be talking about runes over here in Summoner's War Chronicles, and I didn't mean to do that, but I'll take the key anyways. Hi, name's Morphsuit America. This video is geared towards new players, but also there's some stuff, especially at the end, where I kind of mention some things about why you want to keep runes despite not having the certain substats that you want and all that. Unlike that of Sky Arena, there's not a lot of perks of trying to get rid of something that you try to gamble on, but once again, that's a bit later. But this video is to kind of help those who are new in terms of this concept, break it down, talk about the basics. Silver, why did you cover me up? Silver, don't get in the way of my camera. But pretty much this is to kind of cover the basics, everything you need to know about runes. If you want to see a particular point, look in the description for the time skip. Some of the stuff that I will mention might be familiar, especially if you play in Sky Arena. But once again, there might be some differences at the end or some things you may want to be conscious of. Anyways, this is going to be a long video. It's going to be unedited. I'm kind of winging it, doing it right now. Once again, gonna try to cover everything about runes. When it comes to very specific things about like what should you put on a particular creature and like why you would do that and all that. Yeah, now there's a lot of things that you need to factor in terms of variables, in terms of what you're doing. A number of things that would influence why you would go for these particular runes and why you want to go for these certain stats. But yeah, that's a bit too much, and that's going to make this video even longer. I'll do a brief demonstration later of how to kind of approach it, but going more into specific things, that's for a different video maybe, or like a different talk. Anyways, with that being said, let's get started. Once again, look in the description for the time skip. So why should you care about runes? Runes, pretty much, to dumb it down in a few short words, they increase your power and your stats for your creatures. Your character, especially in Chronicles, your summoner, they don't rely on these things, but they have other things to just give them more stats. But for your summons, you kind of want to be conscious of runes. Now I'm going to go into a bit of an opinion in a few minutes after I get through the basics of why you want to do this. Now, as you can see, Tion is only at this much, 25,000 power, and this is their stats. Granted that they did go through an awakening stage, and they do have, the skills maxed out and all that, which might explain some of the blue numbers in parentheses that influence some of these base stats over here. But yeah, pretty much this is Tion fully leveled up. Not fully awakened, but at awakened stage 11, I think, and then that of like fully skilled up, so that influenced the power up there. The big thing though is that you want runes because it will influence your stats. It will give you power as well, but you want to kind of get the particular thing that you need for your creature. So I already have this loaded up. I'll talk about how to decipher this and go through all the different buttons and how to manage stuff and all that. But as you can see with me equipping these runes over here, this is the rune palette over here on the upper right. You can see that there's a lot more numbers now, chunkier numbers, and not only did it increase its power, it went up like twice the number, and you can see more blue numbers within the parentheses. So pretty much for both Chronicles and Sky Arena, the reason why you want to focus on runes is to capitalize on the particular stats that you want for your summons and to increase their power. So, with that being said, this is where I'm gonna go into an opinion. Take it as you will, do whatever you want with it, but if you are still playing the game and you're in the beginning stages and maybe even in the middle of going through the story progression, you don't want to focus too heavily on runes. You want to use them, yes, equip them, the tutorial, the beginning quests, they will mention these runes and you want to put them on, but do not, or just saying, just don't push these low-grade runes to 15. 15 is the max enhancement. I'll go more into details about how to read about rarities and the goodness of these runes and all that. But the thing is, especially if you're starting in the very beginning of the game, you're not going to have like 5-star runes. Note that I think they might release 6-star later down the line. Right now 5 is kind of the max. But the thing is, if you're playing the game right now, you only get like 1, 2, 3 during the beginning stages, and those, they can help you, but you don't want to, once again, go too crazy with them. When it comes to runes, plus 15 is the maximum Enhancement, it's going to eat up a good chunk of materials though. Now, granted that it depends on your viewpoint, perspective, how many resources you have and all that. Once again, this is just my opinion, but don't boil these sort of low-grade runes, because you get a farm, you get to try to get better runes down the line. Now, in terms of where to actually start carrying and all that, where is the dude? So, we're gonna go over here. Pretty much if you're in these 3 areas, I don't think you need to rune too hard to get through the content. For me, when I was going through it, I start to worry about it when I got to here in the ice region, level 42. And then I started to hyper-focus a bit more over here in level 52. But yeah, when it comes to you using these runes and all that, yes, you would want to use them, but especially if you're in these beginning areas, don't do too much with them, because you'll get better ones when you hit the end game, mid-game. Well, late mid-game and then end-game. That's where you get to see a lot more stuff. Now, in terms of how you can acquire these runes, you'll be able to get them a number of ways. One, killing a bunch of mobs. You'll get them sometimes as a drop. It's random though, it's not a guaranteed. Same can be said with chests around the place, though. If you smack a... well, I don't know about smacking a jar, but if you see one of those treasure chests and you open it up, there's a chance that you can get a rune, especially if you do it in some of those area dungeons. If you do some of the area dungeons over here, guess what? Your reward for completing it, you do get some runes. I'll talk about the rarities and the star level and all that later. So there's that. There's side quests as well, so if I show you guys... I did not mean to click that button, but if I go over here, go to quest, go to area exploration, and let me just go to maybe this first one. Yeah, so if I complete this quest line, at the very end, they'll give me some runes. You can see that these are 2 stars. They're rare, with the blue color. Not the best of runes to use, but once again, depends on your situation. Like, if you just need to shove something, you could easily shove this, especially if you're still in this certain region area and you're slowly progressing through the game. That's fine to use temporarily. But yeah, you get them through there. The big thing is Path of Growth. Path of Growth and Path of Adventure, this is where you're going to get most of your specific runes and try to get like the best sort of substats, main stats sort of dealio. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to Path of Growth, it won't be unlocked right off the get-go. You need to go through the story, progress through it, and then eventually you get to the point where you unlock this. When you start to do this though, note that you will start at level 1, and you have to slowly climb up to level 15. Level 15 is the max. There's only 5 of these. And note that each one of these will be unlocked corresponding to or in link with wherever you are at in the story. So if you're still starting off, you most likely will start off with the Queen Spider's Nest first before you go to the different region, and then you slowly unlock all these other rune area dungeons. Okay, I don't know why I was having a hard time trying to piece that together. So yeah, there's 5 of them in total. This is the last one, the Lava Cave one, where it gives you Foresight and Swift. This one gives you Focused and Assemble. This one gives you Blade and Rage. This one gives you Guard and Fatal. This one gives you Energy and Endure. Not only do they give you runes, there's also a chance for them to drop some other components. Some of these will be in reference to the blacksmithing in the game. Some of this is in relation to processing, or actually no, making some cosmetic items. It's RNG chance, meaning that it's random. And I think that's pretty well, no, that's not it. So to do this, you will actually need a certain sort of currency. Now, granted that every day they will give you 6 runs to go through these. So before the reset, you will want to use up your entries. Everyone gets 6 runs. Now, these 6 runs, especially over here, it can be used in Path of Training, Path of Adventure, or Subjugation. If you decide to, if you fail on one of them, it will not eat up your your entry count. Now, if you decide to, let's say, go to Path of Training, do something over there, and you use up an entry, you successfully go through it, it will eat that up. So, if I went through this, for example, let's just say that I was successful, guess what? That's going to be 5 out of 6. And it's going to be 5 out of 6 if I go over here as well. So make sure to use these daily entries accordingly. Note that Yeah, so use them accordingly. After you use up all the daily entries, you will most likely be using a Path of Growth tickets, or you can use the recharge button, which will eat up your crystals. That depends on what you want to use. I would say, especially for at least like the first cost set for the recharge with the crystals, that's fine to use. I would do that. To get Path of Growth tickets, you kind of get them through doing a number of things. Big one would be doing the repeat quest or buying it from the shop. So if I go over here to the shop, once again, if you want to go more into rune details and whatnot, time skips in the description. But if I go over here, click on, I think it was growth and evolution. So if you go over here, there's going to be these tickets over here, especially Path of Growth and Essence. This is weekly, and you don't need to pay any money. You need to pay the crystals over here. I think it costs somewhere between 300 500. I don't remember off the top of my head. But the big thing is you want to actually get these because it's a good chunk of entries that you can use to do something. Not only to farm, but to really capitalize on some of these welfare free events going on. For example, there's this one over here where you can get a free 5-star if you fulfill these conditionals and you get these currency, and then you can spend it. I didn't mean to click on it, but I accidentally clicked on it. So you can get these, and then you can spend it over here. And then try to get like a free 5-star over here, and then some other goodies within this thing. But once you get those, actually the other way to get these entries as well, the repeat requests, and then if you go down here to the last 2 for each one of these, minus the one that's in the beginning area, you want to get out of that beginning area so you can go to these ones instead. So you can get these tickets, start working on them. This will have 2 sort of requirements. One, you have to be within the certain area, and you have to have gone through a certain quest line to actually unlock it. Most of these are in relation to story quest lines, so if you go through the story, these will be unlocked accordingly. Secondly, you need this currency up here, the orders sort of currency up here. You can recharge this by using your crystals, or you can get these through alternative means, like doing some free-to-play content, or at least being lucky to get some stuff. For example, if I show you the event going on right now, if I spin this wheel, there's a chance. Actually, no, I'm wrong. There's no chance to get that over here. There was another way to get these. I thought it was one of these options. Was it this one? I think it's this one. No, I'm wrong. Okay, no. My brain's going derp. Alright. It's not through the events. I'm wrong about that bit. It's through one of the battle passes. I think in Arena, if you go over here to this pass, you could get these currencies indirectly by unlocking the battle pass, granted that, or the premium reward, granted that you had to spend money for that. What else? There's your missions. That's what I'm talking about. This thing, daily challenge. They do give out some of these currencies as well. What other things? I think it's in the guild. If you spin the wheel, there's a chance for you to get them as well. Yeah, there's some over here. There's one over here as well. So there's a good chunk of ways to get them, but note that you can't easily just buy them over here. Even those, what was it? Even those entries, you can't easily buy them through these deals and packages. Maybe it's somewhere, but yeah, no, those are very rare, so you would want to try to capitalize on doing the repeat quest to get those entries, to make sure to buy the weekly ones, and then anything else that could offer them. Once again, if I missed something, put it in the comments. Oh, another thing to note, since I'm still talking about this thing. The bonus. The reason why you kind of want to be conscious of this is because that's the only thing that could really give you a chance of getting those legendary runes. Legendary runes are the highest rarity when it comes to runes. It's going to be an orange color like this. It's the same over there in Sky Arena. In terms of the star rarity, it's 6, and I'll mention this again later when I go into details about runes. But the thing is, even at level 15, I haven't completed this yet. You can see that it's available, but I didn't complete this yet because I don't have the power to do it just yet. But over here, you can see that it's only showing me purple runes. Now, granted that it could drop legendary ones, but it's extremely rare. you can see that the option pops up over here. It's the minimum stage is level 14, and then level 15. Anything else, you see that there's no sort of legendary runes that could be dropped. So if you see the bonus, you kind of want to go towards this particular dungeon for that giant bonus. You can still farm the other ones, but once again, you may want to try to capitalize on this, granted that this is the rune you're going for. If not, then you might want to wait. You still want to burn up your entries. If you don't want to do Path of Adventures, it's Subjugation and Path of Training. But that's pretty much it when it comes to the Path of Adventure, how to go about getting those entries and all that shebang. Now, this point we'll talk about runes. Now let me talk about how to get to the page, decipher the page, and then I talk about the runes themselves and explain how to read them and things to note. So to get to the rune page, there are several ways to get there. You can go to the bag, click on this rune storage space button up there, it will take you over here. You can literally click on that option over in the menu, the rune button. You'll be taken to this, taken to that screen. Then there's the monster one. If you click on the rune palette up here, it will take you over there as well. So let us go back to Tion. Tion will be the example when it comes to me talking about how to rune them. So, in terms of deciphering this, pretty much the left-hand side is your monster stuff. So, there's your creature that you have selected. It's Tion. You can see their awakened status, their levels, if it's maxed or not. You can see their stats. This little arrow down here allows you to unravel the other stats over here. You can click on it again to lower it down. You see the rune palette. You can see the enhancement levels, what position they're at. You can see the preset button, which allows you to save a set. So if you do want to transfer it around, you can easily do with this option. Note that right now, I might need to change these two, but right now this one is the one that I use between Tion and Kona. In terms of deleting this, I have no clue how to freaking delete this. It allows you to compare though, where you can also see some of the technical things and see what is being increased, what's not being increased if you do save it in these slots. If you want to have more of these available to you, you need spin crystals to unlock them. Or maybe that's only one. I'm tempted to actually try that out. Let's do that right now, actually. Let me see if I unlock this one over here. Do I really want to do that? Nah, not yet. You know what? For the sake of video, I have a good chunk of them. Okay, yeah, you can lock more of them. I don't know what's the max number, but decide to do that. So you can easily unequip stuff like that. Once again, if you have something already loaded up, you can easily do that. The stuff down here right beneath the stat stuff is the rune sets that are available because you fulfilled the conditions. You can see that I have 3 sets of Foresight sets active, and it gives me 15% evasion for each one of these too. I'll talk more about the sets and how to go about that later. Below that is where you can select these certain summons that you have and look at them more thoroughly. There's these options to filter it out, so if I want to, I can look for someone specifically, or I could go into this sort of roster and try to find them through all their images and all that. Now, moving on, let's go to the middle. You can see that it shows all your runes, or you can select a specific set of runes that you're looking for, you're looking through. So you got Energy, Guard, Blade, Rage, Fatal, Swift, Focus, Endure, Foresight, Assemble. Now, these are the ones that's in the game right now. I don't know if they plan to add more later down the line. Moving on, the right side is specifically your rune readout. So let me go to Foresight, for example. I have a good chunk of them. So at the very top, you can see that there's placement 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, this is kind of important, and I'll stress on it right now. So 1, and if you look at over here in the rune palette, it's going to point at that very top. 2 is going to be the one right of it, upper right of this star thing. And then 3 is down here, 4, 5, 6. Kind of remember this because I'm going to stress on a particular rule of note, rule of thumb that a lot of people will address in Chronicles, and then that of Sky Arena. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can also, once again, select these options up here to select that certain placement. So, for example, let's say I need something to fill up slot 1. Guess what? I'm able to select that option, and I selected Foresight. So now I specifically have the options or the runes that fulfill those requirements. And then you can do the same for all these other ones. And then I can hit all if I want to. In terms of reading the bottom bit of this, this is to increase your storage space if you need to. This one is to organize stuff in terms of its rarity from high to low, low to high, or however you want. Note that there are 6-star runes. It's not in the game right now as of this recording. And if you plan to watch this during its certain release, but they might add it eventually. Sky Arena does have 6-star runes over there along with legendary status stuff. There's 2 other options. Disassemble allows you to disassemble any runes you have. I'm going to have to talk about this a bit later. And then there's auto equip, allows you to auto equip something. And I'll talk about this button and why you may want to avoid it. Okay, with that being said, let me talk about the runes themselves and how to read them. So let me pull this up for example. You can see that it has a number down here talking about its enhancement. When it comes to enhancement, it's going to be from 0, the natural state that it's in, all the way up to plus 15. Plus 15 is the max. As you go to plus 15, it's going to eat up a good chunk of resources. Specifically gold, rune, what is this? The shards, the stones, and then it's going to eat up sky stones as well. Well, granted that it depends on its rarity. Most of the time, actually no, it doesn't matter. Well, yeah. When you get to, I guess it depends on its rarity. Star level, question mark. I know that I have a rage set around here. That's a 3. Did I not have that? That's the difference, isn't it? So if I enhance you, yeah, it doesn't show any stones, sky stones that you'll be using if it's a grade 3, even though it's blue. And if I take this example, try to enhance it, you can see that it's blue, which is rare, I think. But unlike that 3-star, since this is a 5-star, it starts to eat up sky stones as well. So that's a fun thing to note. Where was I? Oh yeah, deciphering stuff. So since I'm on rage now, so pretty much you see that the color beneath, the color around it kind of shows its rarity. Once again, you can kind of see what it is. So I don't know what M stands for unless it's moderate. So N stands for normal, M stands for moderate, question mark. Correct me if I'm wrong in terms of that certain term or usage or whatever it is. R is rare, H is heroic, and then L is legendary. So legendary is kind of the top grade, and there's a reason to why you may want to try to go for these, but there's a bit more to it. 6-star is the highest, 1-star is the lowest. So you're going to be going... So yeah, 6-star legendary is kind of what you would want, but you can still work with a 6-star with most likely rare, to heroic, and legendary. Those are the 3 that you may be still working with at a 6-star or a 5-star. Right now, once again, 5-star is the highest. So pretty much these 3 are where you kind of want to go. Granted that you might want to go for heroic and legendary, and I'll explain why in a bit. And then once again, this is a way to sort them out. You can sort them out by properties or the stats, substats, and then you can also sort them out by the particular wait. I thought that was a way to sort them out by the set. Actually, no. I'm guessing it's more specific towards this. I mean, you already selected certain sets, so you can actually do that. Excuse me. But yeah. Keep on changing it around. Alright, I was talking about this. So, there's the enhance, which allows you to go to this page and you start enhancing it. You'll see some stuff that's going to happen over here. If you do go to plus 15 with this rune, for example, it will show that whatever it is, it's at plus 9 right now. It's at 29.1% over here. If you do go to plus 15, it's going to show you what's the exact final product, which is going to be 44.8%. If I go to plus 15 with this, it's going to use up these resources over here. In terms of this stuff, it shows if you have a spell book or a stone that's inside of this rune. And then you can see that over here, these three, they're gonna change if I, well, actually no, I don't think they're gonna change any further. But if I do plus 15 this, it will unlock a new ability, substat, down here. And then, other than that, there's some other things to note, which is like adding a stone in here. If I want to, I could add this. I can enchant it with these books over here, put it in here, and then I can disassemble it. That's the enhance page. The disassemble will take you to the disassemble. Equip will just allow you to equip it like so, like that. In terms of the other stuff, you can lock your runes. So if you know that you might accidentally delete it, you might want to lock it. Main stat is over here. I'm going to talk about that percent in a bit, but there's a main stat right here. It could be a flat number or a percent. You see the runes. You can see that it's unexchangeable. You can see the substats down here. So crit damage, 14.2%. Defense, which is a flat, 21. Attack, 77. And then you see the set effect, which is down here. If you have 4 of these on your creature or on your rune palette, it will give you a crit damage 40%. So, to actually now go to the next step, which is to talk about set bonuses, you kind of want to fulfill those various conditions. Now, pretty much the middle list kind of explains how it's going, and note that I'm also playing Sky Arena on the side, so it's gonna take me some time to go back on topic. But the thing is, you just need to read that sort of conditional. It says set of 2 or set of 4. If you see set of 2, usually that's kind of an offset, or that's how people describe it, meaning that it's only 2 runes you kind of need within the palette. And then there's a main set, which is like if it's a set of 4. So your Swift rune, your Fatal, your Rage, they kind of need 4. Energy, Foresight, Guard, their offsets, they only require 2. And that has HP percent. That's attack percent. I may want to keep that. Don't want to keep that. Taking me some time. I apologize. Because I'm just trying to like maximize. Since I'm getting back into Skyrim, I'm just trying to get more mana stones because I've been chewing them up by gambling and doing a bunch of stuff with like min-maxing stats. Anyways, back on topic. Alright, so let's say that you want to try to do this Rage set. So you need 4 of these to get the crit damage 40%. So doesn't matter where, as long as you're able to get 4 on the rune palette, it doesn't matter what's the placement. So if I want, I can do this, and then I don't have that, surprisingly. Actually, I need 1 for 1. And if I fulfill the conditions, it will pop up beneath the stats over here. If you don't see it, you just need to click this arrow to kind of see it. So if I fulfill the conditions, boom, guess what? There's that set of 4, and the crit damage 40% is active. Now, if I decide to take this off, and let's say do a different sort of placement like this, like it'll work. You can actually see that the bonus kicks in again. Now, before I go any further, let me stress on one thing, especially since I'm kind of backtracking and pointing at the talk about why you don't want to push like low grade runes all the way up to plus 15. So this piece is actually, it's not that bad, but granted that this was kind of a piece that I was using temporarily to try to go through some endgame content. It got to a point where I just left this as it is. I didn't get rid of it just yet. Thank God, because I kind of need this for my example. So if I, for example, not going through with it, but if I do push this to plus 15, you can see that this 3-star rare Rage rune will only go to 164. Now, this is for a 3-star. I mean, even ignoring the grade, most of the time the stats are going to be the same. So, for example, let's go to this, the Fatal rune over here. This is heroic. It's purple. Now, you can see that the main stats are the same. The difference in terms of the heroic and this the rare is how many substats you already have unlocked. And then this also goes into how many rows you have to capitalize on the certain stats that you want. I will demonstrate in a bit, since I do need to purge some of these things. So, note that the grade, the actual star level, that you do want to pay attention to, because the reason why you want to go for 5 or 6 Once again, 6 isn't in the game yet, but if it is, you would want to try to get those, and depending on how hard or easy it is to get them, then yeah, that's something to factor in. But once again, if I enhance this all the way up to plus 15, it's going to be only at 164 for the main stat. If I plus 15 this 5-star rune, it's going to be 409. So that is a 300 attack difference there. This is why you don't want to enhance your stuff early on, or use your resources like at a low grade rune when you can do it on a high grade rune. So this is why you want to be conscious of that. Yes, you may want to enhance it. I would say if you are stuck on content, go to plus 9, plus 12. Shouldn't eat up as many resources, especially since you're only using stones. In my honest opinion, stones aren't that bad. The thing you may want to be conscious of is the gold, because gold is going to be a pain in the butt to try to maintain throughout all the stuff you're doing in Chronicles. But yeah, just work on the ones that are at a higher rarity. Now, or higher star grade. So, now I'm going to go into an opinion. The reason why I will tell you to avoid auto-equip is because sometimes it doesn't really capitalize on the thing you're trying to go for. For example, let me just unequip silver, for example. But actually, before I do that, let me just make sure that I'll save it over here. Silver stuff. So I'm gonna save it here just in case. I'm gonna unequip it. So if I unequip it and I decide to auto-equip, now it decided to give me foresight and guard. In terms of its slots that it's giving me, like, these are fine. It's HP, one of them's defense. But the big thing is, it's not capitalizing on what I want it to do. So, or it's not capitalizing on what I should be doing. Because with silver specifically, the reason why I'm using silver is because he's very straightforward in terms of reading them. And this is just kind of an example of how to approach runing, runing. No, just how to figure out what rune to put on your creatures. You want to read their abilities. The abilities kind of give you guys a heads up on what you should kind of go for. So for example, you can see that silver it will apply defense down and it will deal damage based on its defense. The big thing to highlight here, deal damage based on its defense. Whose defense? It's silver's defense. So if I work on the defense stat, guess what? That's gonna give me damage based. Like, it's gonna give me a good chunk of damage based on that stat alone. And then guess what? This ability as well uses a powerful shockwave to deal damage based on its defense to the enemy target 3 times, and each hit has a certain chance to apply unrecoverable. Now, in terms of putting status element, then that's a different story. Granted, that depends on your accuracy and some other factors. But yeah, so the thing is, I allowed the game to kind of auto-equip it. This might be alright. Right now, his defense is 1,785. His evasion is actually at 50, precision 119, resistance 28, accuracy is 42, crit damage 119, crit rate 30, attack speed is 119, defense 1,758, attack 1,607, and then the power is at 56,000. So I think the power did increase compared to what I had, but granted that, I feel like the power is influenced more on the damage stuff, like crit rate, crit damage, attack. Those certain stats, they will influence that. Now, the defense isn't that high, and I don't think this is actually bad, thinking about it, but at the same time, I might want to capitalize on slot 2 and 4 for defense percent stat to really capitalize on that defense bit and still maintain maybe like that evasion. Now, if I go back to, let's load up the presets, and you can also compare like this, you can see that there's a difference. The silver stuff that I had prior to this sort of swap, you can see that there's a 4,000 power difference, and the big thing that I'm losing is the HP you can see that there's a grand difference of roughly around 9k if I swap back to the original set that I have. Crit rate, crit damage, the crit damage especially got lowered. Crit rate is pretty low as well. Accuracy got decreased slightly. Resistance got increased. And then precision evasion. I think evasion would be alright. I might actually lean towards going towards this, but at the same time, I do want to try to capitalize on that defense because once again, it's more of a defense stuff. Especially with his abilities. So if I load this back up, you can see there's a decrease in that. So once again, it's your discretion to kind of figure out how you want to toy around with it. It wouldn't be bad to have those particular things that I had on with the automatic choice. But once again, do note that it might not be the best option depending on what it's doing. You have to kind of eyeball it, try to judge it yourself. This wasn't too bad. I might consider swapping it to Foresight maybe, because if I'm able to get the same sort of number, I mean, I think the biggest difference with that sort of set is how the... Wait. Yeah, so the big difference might be because of that defense. But if I'm able to swap those Foresights, instead of getting HP, I get, like, defense instead. Might be good. Granted that he's an assassin type, so might be better to have, like, HP. I need to actually toy around with these sort of builds to really figure out if I'm alright with this. See how he does in combat with this unit set or maybe the other one. It depends. So, auto-equip might be alright, but you just need to be conscious of it. It's entirely up to you to kind of figure that out. You might want to experiment, might want to take it out on the field and see how it plays out. So moving away from that, so that's a hit or miss in terms of the auto equip. I don't know what I just said prior to me saying all that, so let me put his stuff back on. I might actually experiment with Silver with like other stuff like that, because if you look at his stats right now with what I had originally, his evasion isn't that high. I might want to do it because of his particular class. But once again, I kind of want to capitalize on that defense as well, because that's where his skills kind of play into it. I think his normal attack is just a normal attack too. It's not based on anything, but these two, they're based on it and already maxed it out, so I might want to toy around with him. Problem with him is that I'm not using him as much. He's kind of a backup now because of how he's not pushed, unlike that of my fairy who's already max leveled, and then I'm trying to push Theo to that max status as well. But right now the problem is I need more Breath of Life and then the shards. Going back on topic though. So there's that auto equip. I would say kind of be careful with that. Use your discretion, your judgment to kind of figure it out. And if you still can't figure it out, you might want to test it out on the field. See if like this thing that you had prior to, like for example, just seeing like that sort of difference and seeing how there's a giant number in evasion. I might want to experiment with that sort of thing, see how he does fighting against bosses and all that with that auto equip set compared to this one. Or like slightly change it up instead of focusing on HP. Like maybe I should just have the defense percent stats instead. So that's entirely up to you on how to go about it. But the one thing I will stress on is that if you do plan to equip runes, you want to be conscious of 2, 4, and 6. And this is a big rule not only in Chronicles, it's also in Sky Arena. So 2, 4, and 6. Once again, to know the placement, you can click on this. It'll light up over here on the rune palette. So 2, 4, and 6. There's chances that there's gonna be a percent. And what exactly? Let me pull up my foresight. So for slot 2, there's gonna be a defense percent, an attack percent, an HP percent, and the last one is an attack speed. And then you also got the flat numbers where it's like HP, attack, and then what was it, defense. So the big thing is any of those slots, 2, 4, and 6, you want to get percents. Why? Because a percent is a lot better than that of a flat number. If you're curious about it, I think there was like a Reddit post that I saw back in Sky Arena thread, and I'm gonna try to look for it now. I'll put it in the description if you do want to see it yourself. Alright, so it's this old post right here, and this guy, or the person that responded to this, gave a very good, simple example. So pretty much, the statement was this, like, what's the difference of a what's the difference between a rune that has a flat HP with like 10% HP substat versus that of a 6-slot HP percent rune? And by that, it's like the main stat HP rune. So down here, someone says, let's say both of the, let's say you have runes that fulfill that sort of condition. So there's a rune that's a 6-star grade. It's enhanced at plus 15, and it's an HP percent. And the HP percent is like 63% HP. So what do you use to kind of determine how much HP you get? So depending on what your creature is in terms of their base HP, let's say for example it's 10,000. So if the base HP for the creature is 10,000 and there's a 63% HP multiplier from your rune, especially if it's a main stat, that's going to be 6,300 HP that you're getting. And to calculate this, you just multiply the 63% into 10,000. Now, the other bit of this sort of question is the fact that it's the same sort of rune, 6-star, it's enhanced at plus 15, but instead of it being a main percent stat, it's a flat percent stat. So the flat percent stat is like 2,448 HP, and one of their substat is like a plus 10% HP boost. Now, when you calculate it, like the only thing you're calculating is that 10% of 10,000, and it's just gonna be 1,000. So 1,000 plus 2,448 HP is 3,448 HP. Guess what? The percent HP main stat is gonna give you a lot more stats compared to the flat one. So there's a grand difference with this example of like 2,853 or almost 3,000 in terms of that value. So just by using this example, once again, I have it in the description. This is why you want to go for percent. This for both Sky Arena and Chronicles. 2, 4, and 6 is where it has percents. Now, 2 is a bit exceptional because the only stat you might want to consider that's not a percent is attack speed. Now, once again, your discretion on how to use this, you kind of need to figure out what creature might capitalize on this, but attack speed is not a percent. Everything else, especially for slot 2, is attack, HP, or defense. You want to try to go for a percent with that. For slot 4, there's going to be attack, defense, HP percent, but there's also critical rate percent, critical damage percent. And if you're working on someone that does a bunch of damage, you may want to have a critical damage percent. There is no flat for critical rate or critical damage, they are percent. You will most likely bump into flat HP, defense, and attack stats, or you can find attack percents, defense percents, HP percents, but big thing is, especially if you're working with damage, like the 2 abilities that you might want to consider for slot 4 for any damage user or someone that might need more crit percent is in slot 4. And it's crit damage percent, crit rate percent. And then, guess what? For slot 6, you're going to see a good chunk of different abilities. For Chronicles, I think it's accuracy. I don't see resistance. They might add that later. Accuracy, HP, attack, and defense percent. And then you also got the flat numbers. Accuracy, I don't think have a flat number, but you'll get to see an attack flat, defense flat, HP flat. But once again, try to aim for the percent one. And accuracy, that depends on who you're using. If you have someone that's going to debuff a good chunk of times, you may want to increase that. Accuracy just increases the chance of you landing that debuff on a being, on a creature. But yeah. And then guess what? Talk about 2, 4, and 6. 1, 3, and 5. I repeat, 1, 3, and 5. The main stats are going to be the same regardless. So, just to emphasize, you can see that these two, even though they're different colors, you see that the HP is 1,260. until I start enhancing it. But this is flat stats regardless. There is no main percent dealio for 1, 3, and 5 for the main stat. Substats, different story, but main stat is going to be flat, and they're all going to be the same. The slot 1 is going to be an attack flat number, stat 3 defense flat number, stat 5 HP flat number. So the big ones you want to try to emphasize on is 2, 4, and 6, and try to get a percent. Alright, so we're almost done. Still a good chunk of things to cover. I'm not gonna do that event because I'm doing recording right now. So, the reason why I want to kind of be conscious about their grades, the color, is because they will unlock more substats, but it goes into rolling into certain substats. So, oh gosh, I don't have any legendary runes for this sort of example, but kind of pay close attention. So, when it comes to this, and if you play on Sky Arena, once again, this is very familiar because this is what you kind of want to do over there in Sky Arena. So, over here in Chronicles, if you have a particular substat you want to try to capitalize on, you may want to try to roll into it. So, let's go to Foresight. Foresight I tend to work with, since I am trying to make sure to capitalize on like evasion or like some other things here and there. Let us use this one for example. So, since this is a rare rune, I don't know much about like the greens or the white one. I usually work with blue, purple, and then legendaries, but I don't have any, once again, in Chronicles. I only have purple and blue. Now, the reason why you kind of want to be conscious of their grade is because the higher the grade, the more rolls you can do. So, let me start enhancing. Now, you could immediately go to like plus 15 if you want, and you'll see the giant changes. But what I try to do is kind of work with this. But before you even do this sort of method, I would say that you need to be aware of what you're trying to go for in terms of your substats. Now, if you're working with like a blue piece, note that you're gambling hard a bit because you don't know what the other two substats will be. And unlike that of Sky Arena where you could like just scrap it right away, you're not going to get a lot of refunds out of you kind of doing this sort of approach. Maybe if you sell it, but the big thing is once you start like pushing it to the plus 6, you start eating a bit of the Sky Stone. And you can't get the refund on the Sky Stones. Maybe on the rune enhancements and maybe a bit of the gold. I feel like these two aren't a big issue. It's the Sky Stones that's going to be an issue if you try to do this gambling method. So, if you do plan to do this, just be aware of what you're getting yourself into. And I'll highlight this over in Sky Arena of what I'm doing. So, let's say, for example, I want to work on this piece. Now, it's on slot 5. It's going to be a flat stat of 1,260 unless I get a higher grade, which is a 6-star, which once again isn't in the game. This is kind of the highest main flat stat. And even if I get a legendary orange rune, guess what? It's still going to have the main flat stat. The only difference is the substats and how many times I can roll into it. So if I enhance this and go to plus 3, note that you see these bonuses kick in at the 3 increments. So plus 3, plus 6, plus 9, plus 12, plus 15. Actually, no. It's just those 4. Plus 3, plus 6, plus 9, plus 12. When you go to plus 15, that is it. You're just maximizing your main stat. But depending on the grade, that's where you get to see this sort of change. So with blue, usually you kind of get 2 chances to roll. After that, that is pretty much it. For purple, you get 3. For gold, you get, or the rare, you get 4. And I'll try to explain this with Chronicles and that of Sky Arena. Alright, so let's say I want to try to roll into HP. Now, you can see that I didn't get the particular thing that I want. It decided to roll into, into resistance, which isn't bad, especially for PvP against a lot of enemies you're fighting that might have debuffs, but that's if you're fighting enemies with debuff. If they're going to be heavy on damage, it's like, maybe I should have, rolled into HP, but you have no control over this. So that was just the first roll. I get another chance to do this because, once again, this is a blue rune, and it's already have 2 of these stats. So, when I do this, gosh, that's not good. So, you can see that I got into resistance. Now, just to kind of carry on with this sort of example, I'll go all the way to plus 15 for video's sake. Now, this is eating up some of my resources. Once again, I don't have any issues with these enhancement stones and a bit of gold. The sky stones might be a bit of an issue though, since I'm pushing it. But as you can see, I had 2 chances to roll into it and it all went to res. Now, because this is a blue rune, just the reason why I'm repeating myself a lot of times is just to really hammer it, and hopefully you guys are getting it. It's just that, once again, you're not going to get any more rolls. You're only going to get these unlocks at plus 9, plus 12, and then plus 15 is you finalizing it. So, to carry on through my example, you can see with plus 9, it unlocks an evasion. Plus 12, it decides to unlock a flat stat. Nope, that I had no control over that. It decided to give me that. That's kind of bad. Everything else is alright. And then plus 15, you're not going to see any changes to those substats. So you can see that other than the main stat, which is the HP flat number up there, the substats are still at 6%, 13, 4.8, and 28. And note to that, also pay attention to how many sky stones I burned up. Just to get to plus 15. Once again, gold into rune stones may not be as bad, especially since I could like dismantle it. But that's the thing. I plus 15 and got 2 rolls into that. So if you do plan to really maximize on this, be aware of what you're getting yourself into. And know that you're not going to get a good chunk of refunds back because of you going through this sort of thing. So hopefully the piece you're working with already has most of the substats that you want, and you're not gonna hurt if you try to roll into it. Now, in terms of what to do with these things, I'll talk about like the leftover stuff that you're not using. So let's go into this, for example. This is another Foresight rune piece. It's a purple grade. Now, because this is purple, it's heroic, instead of just having 2 rolls, I actually have 3. And this is why if you get a legendary one, you'll be able to have full 4 rolls into this, and hopefully it kind of just capitalize on the certain stat that you're going for. So with this one, let's say, oh gosh, actually I don't want to work with that. Do I have another Foresight piece that's purple that I may want to work with? Not that one. I should actually equip this one to the witch. This one would actually work with the witch. Alright, let's work with this one. All 3 of these stats aren't, well, I don't want it in res. HP will be nice. And accuracy might help me, especially since the green witch, if I remember her kit, it works with debuffing a bit. So if she's able to land that a good chunk of times on the enemy, that'd be great. So once again, you get to see, since this is a heroic piece, you have 3 rows into this. Not only do you need to worry about like the 3rd substat, like you can get a row. At plus 12, you get to see that it's gonna unlock the 4th substat, and then plus 15 once again, it's gonna finalize everything. So let's do this. Plus 3, what did it increase? It increased accuracy, which once again, I think I'm fine with that, especially if I put this on the witch. So that's 1 roll out of 3. And also pay attention to how many resources I'm using up. I think I already started to use up the sky stones. Once again, as you go through this, it's gonna stack, and you're gonna already burn through a good chunk of these. So, you gotta do this. And you can see that this, once again, rode into accuracy, which isn't bad. Now, hopefully the 3rd time it could do that. Guess what? It did that. And this is how you capitalize on certain substats because of its grade and trying to roll into it. But once again, you have no control of what you're rolling into. So, me having 3 rolls into accuracy, that was rare. Because there's a 33% chance between all 3 of these substats. Now, because it's only a purple grade of heroic, that's it. There's no more bonus rolls I'm getting from these substats. The only thing I'm getting is like a new substat because it doesn't have one when I plus 12 it, and when I plus 15 it, once again, it's going to finalize it. Now, once again, if this does not go well for you, you do not want to do like a disassemble on this. And you can't really get as much even when you kind of start gambling on the process. So if where's that piece? So I already plus 15, where are you? So if I, for example, try to dismantle it, you're not going to get all those resources you use back. Even if you sell this, it's not going to be as much gold. The big thing that you consumed a lot of, especially with these higher runes, is that Sky Stone. So if you're gonna try to capitalize on something, hopefully it already has the substats that you want. Because even if, let's say for example, even if I wasn't trying to go for accuracy, it goes into HP and res. It doesn't hurt me because that's still something I can work with. So this is why you want to do that. And once again, going over here in Sky Arena that I have, I'll pull it up on the big screen. Like, some of the rules still apply. Over here, I'm immediately selling this because guess what? That's on the 4th slot. I want it a percent. It's not a percent. Get rid of that. This one doesn't have speed. I kind of want speed. Gonna get rid of that. This one, it has a percent, but it doesn't have a substat that I'm looking for, which is speed. This one, it has accuracy. I have a lot of them, so I don't want a bunch of them. This one's defense. It has a flat stat. I don't want that. This one, don't want that. It doesn't have speed as a substat, doesn't have speed as a substat. So with that out of the way, let me also start doing this. And once again, if you just want to get back into Chronicles, look in the description for this time skip. So I'm going to go to an orange rune piece over here and show the same sort of example that I got. So if we go over here, go to monsters, and let's say... No, not that. Actually, no. Yeah, let me go in here and let me... Because I'm trying to rune Liam right now. I pulled Liam recently, randomly too, and I like that. But I've been working on some of the pieces. I think temporarily I'm just going to give them Fatal and Swift because that's all I got right now, and I kind of want to try to use them. Alright, let's say, for example... I said I need to work with this. So, I'm going to use this. Very questionable in terms of me, like, rolling into it. The biggest thing that this doesn't have that I may want is, like, the speed stat. But this is a legendary 6-star rune. And because it's a legendary status, and most likely, once again, it will be the same thing over there in Chronicles, you have 4 random chances of trying to increase the stats. Granted that, once again, it's RNG. I may not get the particular stat that I may want. It would be nice to kind of increase the crit damage, I guess. Attack would be alright too. Like 3 of these stats, well, actually no. Excuse me. That one, the HP percent, is actually within the main stat. So it's a 50-50 in terms of me getting like the certain stats that I want. Because it's 2 stats that I may not want a lot of percent in. The big one I think is resistance. I don't want that. I mean, accuracy is also something I don't want too, but the big 2 I want is crit damage and attack. So let's roll into this. Let's see if I can get the rolls into it. Now, over here is going to be a bit harder to try to get the like plus 12. Okay, first row went into crit damage. Guess what? Now I'm going to try to roll it again. Hopefully it goes into crit damage. It goes into accuracy. That's not good. I mean, it's alright, especially if your being can put status element, but ideally you kind of want to just like, especially if they get hit hard, you kind of want them to hit hard. Granted that you also need to make sure that the crit rate is also good too. Also went into accuracy again. That's not, no gosh. Actually, that's, I don't know. I'm only using this temporarily too on Liam, if I do plan to shove this on Liam. Now, yeah, this is gonna take a while. Once again, look at the description for the time skip, and I just realized this video in itself is very gosh darn long. So, yeah. The reason why it's long is, once again, I'm trying to make sure I'm thorough in terms of explaining it. If you have still question, comment, concerns, put it down below. Yeah, look at the description for that time. Oh my gosh. Alright, there's that. And then... Oh, that was the 4th row? Oh gosh. So, I have the first row into crit damage, 2 rows into accuracy, 1 into resistance. And guess what? If I finalize this, it's not going to add any more bonuses. It's just going to be finalized, so it's going to have like 126 attack. Granted, that's going to take a while, but I don't think you guys need to see that remaining example, so I'll just have it off to the side. If it does finish, I'll pull it up over here again. Anyways, pretty much that kind of covers, what is it? I think that covers most of the rune talk about the grades, the levels, things to be conscious of in terms of rolling and whatnot. But anyways, let's just say that you have a bunch of these runes, and since you can't, you know, get a good refund or a decent refund out of these, what do you do with these? The big thing is, especially with Chronicles, there's gonna be a point where you kind of need a bunch of mats for professions, and you would want to capitalize on sending out a bunch of groups to do exploration. Now, I don't know if this main hub area has you do that I need to look for. Do you have the do for exploration? Okay, I need to move to him. Alright, and over here in Sky Arena, I just finished it. You can see that it went from plus 12 to plus 15. The only difference is that I got the main stat to be finalized at plus 160. HP stat is still the same. Everything else is still the same. Note that if there's a substat over here, a slight substat within the main stat, you're not going to be able to roll into that. So, yeah, there's that finalized piece. I'll most likely shove it on Liam just so I can get the Fatal set at least. Once again, I'm not building heavy into speed yet. I might try to get like the Rage set and Blade over here. But anyways, that's enough of Sky Arena talk. Let me also just start doing auto farming and over in this. Alright, that's already started. But yeah, the reason why you may not want to just dismantle some of these bad runes is because you can equip it on some of the creatures and try to increase the power so you can do these expeditions. So, these expeditions, depending on what difficulty you're going for, I kind of wish that I could show you. Actually, maybe I can. No, I can't because I don't have any more space. But anyways, actually, just for the sake of this video, I'm not gonna get a refund if I stop there. Alright, you just gotta have to believe me, I can't speak. Just gotta have to believe me verbally. So pretty much, what it's gonna tell you to do, you're gonna need some gloves, so you might want to find the general merchant over here. You want to buy... In terms of tools, you want to buy the harvest gloves and the pickaxe, depending on what you need. And then you want to send them out over here. Depending on the combat power in total of all the creatures that you send, it's going to either allow you to go through difficulty 1, 2, and 3. The higher the difficulty, the more rewards you're going to get. So, for example, I think that for... So, over here, they're on difficulty 2, I think? Or is it 3? I don't remember. I think this one's definitely 2. So, this one, if you do not go to difficulty 2, you're not going to get 84 branches. Difficulty 2 is this one. Difficulty 1 is pretty much 36 branches, which isn't a lot. I mean, it is a lot for you to just send a squad out there. It's going to take 6 hours and all that, but you need to hit the conditionals, which is have the resources like the gloves and the pickaxe, but also have the combat power of the specific group. Now, when you send these guys on dispatches, you can still use these monsters, these summons. So, I send out Copper in that team, for example. I can easily put Copper into my team over here. So, even if you send them out, it's not going to hurt you. The only thing that might conflict with that is if you do a dispatch mission over here in the request office, and it's not going to allow you to send that monster because they're already over here in the expedition. Now, I don't know what other things it conflicts with, but if you do have a bunch of runes that you were trying to gamble and they just turned out really bad, if you have some other creatures that you are working on or just slowly working on, you can shove those runes to them to increase the power so they can actually go and do some of these expeditions. So, yeah, that's the best way to kind of reuse some of these runes. You could most likely scrap them depending on their usage, or if you really want to get rid of them and just free up your space. That's entirely up to you. But yeah, that is pretty much it when it comes to Summoner's War, Chronicles, and Runes, and just breaking it down for you in terms of the bonus rolls and how to go about approaching it, things to note when it comes to you doing it. But yeah, it's a long video. Hopefully this helps you guys, especially if you're new to it. Once again, if I forgot something, or if you want to add on to something I already mentioned, put it in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys in the next video. Peace. Oh god, that is an hour upload. Jeez. Rune.